Some pressure doesn't feel like a problem, it feels like an order. The situation says, this needs attention. The thing underneath it says, you don't get to rest until it's fixed. Or, you handle this alone. Or, nobody finds out you're struggling. That second voice is usually so familiar, it doesn't sound like a rule, it just sounds like how things are. I'm Kevin Allen Kerber, and this is the Pressure Audit Kit walkthrough of the third worksheet, Internal Rules. By the end of this worksheet, you'll have the single sentence making your pressure heavier than the situation requires. One sentence in your handwriting on a line. Bring the heaviest pressure from your earlier pages. The page opens with a claim. Every pressure is enforcing a rule. Let me be careful with that. It doesn't mean every hard situation is caused by some hidden belief. Some situations are just hard. What it means is that once pressure gets into your system, it goes and recruits a standard about how you're supposed to respond to it. The problem might be brand new. The rule telling you what the problem says about you could be decades old. Below that is a checklist, 2 columns, then 2 short steps. Name the rule and describe how it runs your life. Notice what the page doesn't ask. It doesn't ask where the rule came from. It doesn't ask you to prove it's false, just which one is operating right now. Bring your lead pressure to mind. I'll read a few rules from each part of the list. The rest are on the page, and take them at your own pace. First set is about usefulness, pace, and competence. I must always be useful. I must never fall behind. I must be productive to deserve rest. Set your pressure down next to those and watch what happens. A stalled project becomes unbearable under I must never fall behind, not because of the delay, but because falling behind is the thing you promised yourself you'd never let happen. And exhaustion just keeps going under I must be productive to deserve rest, because that rule makes rest available only after your body has stopped being able to use it. Next set is about disappointing people, needing things, and proving. I must not disappoint people. I must keep the peace. I must prove I'm okay. These ones hide inside behavior that looks responsible. Keeping the peace is genuinely useful in a specific moment. It turns into pressure when it becomes a permanent assignment and your own honest answer starts counting as a threat to the room. And I must prove I'm okay. Look at the cost on that one. You conceal information. You turn down help. You keep performing competence while the actual thing gets worse. The rule might be protecting your dignity, but nobody around you is getting accurate information about what you need. Column 2, last set, uses the language of growth. I must stay positive or I'm part of the problem. I must be able to regulate myself. I have the knowledge. I must embody what I teach or I'm a fraud. The issue here isn't positivity, it isn't regulation, and it isn't teaching. The issue is the word must and whatever's attached to the other end. When I must stay positive is running, honest disappointment starts to feel morally dangerous. When I must embody what I teach is running, one ordinary bad week becomes evidence you're a fraud. Instead of evidence, you're a person who teaches from lived experience and practice. Check whatever's active. And don't check the one that sounds most dramatic. Check the one that produces recognition. You've probably got several marked. That's expected. Now the page asks you to circle one, the rule adding the most weight right now. Here's how to find it. Go back to the actual pressure and ask which rule changes the emotional stakes the most. Say a project's behind. I must move faster. Creates urgency, sure. But I must stay impressive. Might be the one making the delay feel like exposure. The second one's heavier because now the project isn't about finishing. It's a test of whether people still respect you. Or you say you need help with something at home. I must handle everything myself is clearly active. But I must not be a burden might be sitting underneath that. The first one describes what you do. The second describes what you're afraid happens if you stop. That's usually the tell. Go for the one describing the fear, not the behavior. Circle it, even if it's not the one you'd prefer to have. Step 1A, write the rule on the line. Copy it as printed, or sharpen it if your vision's more specific. The page might say, I must not disappoint people. Yours might actually be, I must not disappoint people who depend on me. The page says, I must be certain, but yours might be, I must be certain before I spend money. Keep the shape of it. Keep the must, but don't soften it into a preference. You'll lose the thing you're looking at. Write that now. Step 1B, how does this rule show up for me? 1 or 2 sentences, not your life story, just the behavior it produces. If the rule is, I must not disappoint people, you might write, I say yes before I check my calendar, then resent it and rush my own work to keep the promise. If the rule is, I must appear to have it together, could be, I wait too long to tell anyone a problem is growing, so I lose the window where help would have been easy. And notice those aren't insults. I'm weak is not a description of how a rule operates. Name what you do, or avoid, hide, delay, or overproduce, because that rule is switched on. Write it. Now look at the rule and the description together. The page has a reminder on it worth sitting with. These rules were useful once. I must make everyone comfortable may have gotten you through an unpredictable house. I must be exceptional to be safe may have earned you approval or kept criticism off you. I must not need too much may have protected a relationship that had no room for what you needed. Seeing that isn't the same as giving the rule permanent authority. A rule can be completely understandable and still be expensive. So run 2 questions across your page. First, what is the situation actually requiring? Second, what is the rule requiring on top of that? A deadline requires focused work and a phone call. It doesn't require you to prove your worth. Somebody in your family needs care. That doesn't require you to erase your own limits to give it. A stretch of uncertainty requires patience and better information. It doesn't require certainty before you're allowed to move. The gap between those 2 answers is where most of the extra weight lives. So as you move forward, listen for the rule in the wild. It travels in specific words. Must, should, always, never, and by now. Absolutes. When you catch one, name it exactly. Label it plainly. That's the rule that says I handle everything myself. You don't have to defeat it in the moment. Just be aware of it. Naming it just puts a little space between the instruction and the person hearing it. Wow, that was seriously great work. If you have done all 3 worksheets so far, then you're moving through it. Great job. Next episode, we take one move, not solve your life. One action that takes a single layer off without pretending the rest disappeared. I have a video to help walk through that with you if you'd like, and it's there when you're ready.